Welcome! Melissa here from Fish Alaska, and today you're going to learn how to make some delicious, zesty salmon burgers. But that's not all. In my next video, I'll show you how to prepare my favorite sauce that pairs perfectly with these burgers. And to top it off, we'll combine the burgers and sauce in a vibrant breakfast salad. I like to make mine in batches and store them in the freezer for frequent use, but you can also skip that part and half the recipe for a nice meal anytime. And nothing is more important than the quality of the salmon that you choose for your salmon burgers. I like to harvest my own, so if you have the opportunity to do that, it's really the best. Just remember, bleeding fish and getting them on ice right away after they're caught is the key to top quality. If you aren't able to fish or just don't really want to, there are other ways to get quality salmon, including ordering direct from a small commercial fishing company in Alaska. If you can't afford the option to buy direct from catchers, you can also use canned salmon from the grocery store. Be sure you're buying wild-caught Pacific salmon. Farm-raised salmon is pretty gross. I prefer sockeye for salmon burgers because of its naturally high fat content. It helps the ingredients to bind and also has a great flavor. The ingredients for the salmon burgers are pictured here. I'm using all whole food choices for this recipe to show you how that can be done, but you can easily substitute things like panko for the coconut flakes or prepared horseradish instead of horseradish root. And now we're going to prepare our salmon. First we have to debone the salmon and then skin it, because this is how we keep them when we're packaging them straight out of the river. So I have these great Messer Meister fish pliers in my kitchen. There's a line right here. You can feel it. You can feel all these bones singularly protruding out of the flesh. And then just go in and grab each one. Feel it like this. You'll feel each one and pull it out. And it doesn't matter, actually sometimes this will split the flesh, but it doesn't matter because you're not presenting this whole fillet. You're going to be making it into salmon burger. And actually in our next step, I'm going to show you a little trick of the trade that my brother taught me, where I grind up the salmon in my meat grinder into a coarse ground for great texture in this burger. If you don't have a meat grinder, it's no problem at all. You can simply chop your salmon into half-inch pieces. Next, I'm going to skin it. This is my kitchen fillet knife that I absolutely love. It's made by River Knives, which is a made in the USA company, and they're so great that they guarantee their knives for life. I love the grip on it, and they also make a 6-inch and a 10-inch model, which are handy for larger and smaller fish, but this one is universally perfect for my kitchen. So to skin the salmon, I just go around the edge until I find a piece that's already naturally started here from where the filleting the fish originally began. And I use the sharp part of my knife and I angle it slightly towards the ceiling. And I'll just go along the edge like this. The next step in making our salmon burgers is to grind the meat. Now if you don't have a meat grinder, you can skip this step. And it's really very simple. You don't need the full bad mamma jamma like this one. And if you don't have a meat grinder, you can just chop up the salmon into small pieces. So it's similar to this consistency. Now that we've ground our salmon, we're going to mix all our ingredients together. First I'm going to add just a little salt and pepper. Next I'll add a finely chopped large red bell pepper. Now I prefer to use organic ingredients myself, but that is a personal choice. But for me it always tastes just a little bit better. And half of a red onion finely chopped. 1 jalapeno pepper finely chopped. A bunch of green onions, also finely chopped. And as I mentioned, You can use either coarsely ground horseradish root that you do yourself, or you can just buy prepared horseradish. But I wanted this to be a whole food, Whole30 compliant recipe, so I just shredded up some horseradish root. Okay. Next, we've got to add our binding agents. So I add 3 eggs. Again, to keep it whole food compliant, I'm using shredded coconut. You do not taste the coconut flavor in this recipe from the shredded coconut. You can simply use panko or any breadcrumb that you prefer if you don't want to use coconut. And one of the most crucial elements, the lemon zest that you'll want to add fresh to your batch. Now this recipe I'm predicting will make about 2 dozen mini size salmon burgers, which is how I like to do them. The next thing I need to do is juice a lemon into the mix, and then we'll mix our ingredients and form our patties. I like to use my hands, but you don't have to do it that way. You can simply get out a spatula and mix it all around. Now we've got this really coming together, and see how that grind really helps make it so it wants to bind together. It's really all about getting the right texture and the right amount of moisture in here to bind the ingredients. If you don't have enough egg, then your patties won't form and hold, but you don't want too much either. But again, using that sockeye salmon really brings an element of the extra fat that is itself binding by nature. So this is the right consistency and moisture level, so I'm not going to add the other lemon. You don't want it to fall apart in the pan as you're cooking it. So what I'm going to do here is form all of these patties, and I'm preparing them for this cookie sheet, lined cookie sheet, to go into my stand-up freezer. I always pre-freeze the salmon burger for just a little bit on these cookie trays so that when I go to vacuum seal it, it has the surface area to adhere to. Time to put this awesome vacuum sealer to work. Now, it's a quick job here. I only have 8 packages total, so I place my edge of my bag over the sealer bar, close my lid until it suctions closed. It's going to self-compress there. The JBR VAC 110 can handle any kind of volume you might have here in Alaska. If you're putting up fish from dip netting or rod and reel fishing. It's an air chamber machine, and it's got an oil pump, which means it does have the highest amount of air drawn out of the package, which is key to keeping items fresh. And this thing's a tank. It's super easy to use. It should last a lifetime. Okay, now we're ready to cook our salmon burgers. So I'm gonna simply dredge the outside of the burger with coconut flakes to give it a crust. Now again, easily substitute panko or breadcrumbs. I used to think that you needed to dredge it in egg first, but no, it's awesome. The coconut flakes will just stick to the semi-moist salmon burger like this. So adding these coconut flakes before you cook it gives it a little bit of a crust. Avocado oil now. A fair amount. There's only 3 burgers going on in here, but make sure you get my pan fully coated. Salmon burgers, once your oil's nice and hot, you want it to form a crust, but you don't want it to burn. And we'll let them cook on one side on medium-high for about a minute or so to let it brown, and then we'll flip them and do the same on the other side. Then you want to turn your heat down a little lower to let it cook all the way through. This is my fish turner. It's my favorite tool for flipping fish, either in the pan or on the grill. Just lets you get in under there, and it usually doesn't end up in destructo fisho. rest on that. Try to get it away. That fish is still alive. Okay, we'll let it cook for another minute or two here on the other side. Then we're going to turn that heat down even lower and let it finish off. After they're done cooking, I'll let them sit for a minute so it'll continue to cook through. So I err on the side of less than more. I do not appreciate overcooked salmon. So I'll let it stand for a few and finish cooking while I prepare my salad. All right, here we go. Get some crack sauce and some salmon burger. Give it a taste. Oh, that's good.